Great. Let's get started. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us
Yeah,
today.
thanks.
I am Danielle.
And I'm Greg, and this is Culture Eats Parenting for Breakfast. So before we dive in, quick show of hands, who here has been pushed parenting advice on social media? Yeah. Now,
Yeah. Keep your hand raised if some of that advice made you feel like you were not doing enough. Us too.
us too, right? And so, why does this feel so icky? And that's really what we're exploring here today.
Yeah, absolutely. How we can shift out of the minutia of parenting into the much bigger, more powerful work of building family culture at home. So we'll talk a little bit about our revolution, if you will, and leave you with an actionable experiment that you can get started.
Yep. But first, some backstory. So, Danielle, what's going on here?
Yeah, this is our first date at the Standard Hotel in New York City in 2015. It was right after this photo was taken that I said, Greg, I think we're going to get married. Not creepy at all on your first date, right? No, it's truly, I
She was
said that.
right.
I
She
was
was
right.
right.
Yeah, so we were young and in love, and Greg had just started his, now our venture capital firm, Value Stream.
Yep. And Danielle was climbing the ladder, climbing the ranks really at Citadel. She was extremely invigorated by the people she was working with, as was I. And we were just so into our work. And it was just an amazing time that we think very fondly of.
Yeah, and it was in that time that I think we realized just how powerful culture can be. We didn't have words for it back then, but really shared vision, shared language, and this sense of belonging really enabled us each in our work to do great things and feel a deep sense of purpose.
That's right. Now, a lot has happened in the 10 years since this picture of our first date, most notably these guys. We're a family of five. I pulled Danielle out of retirement. We work at Value Stream Ventures together. So we've got 3 kids together, building a business under one roof. It's a lot. And we moved from Manhattan to South Florida.
Yeah, and our kids are now 4, 5, and 7 on their way to 4, 6, and 8. And they're sentient beings now. They were out of the baby phase. They sleep through the night. They help with household chores most of the time. But importantly, we're in this beautiful window of time before adolescence where they still want to hang out with us and still care what we think.
Yeah. And recently it hit us. We are 5 sentient beings with lots of emotions and needs under one roof, 24/7, mostly. And it feels kind of like a startup, right?
Yeah. And the product work fit is pretty good. But, 6 months ago, I would say that the team alignment was lacking.
Yeah. So we started looking at our family as a team. And we saw that the principles that shape great businesses are the same that can shape great families. But we're not really talking about it much, especially culture. So, in our work life, culture is the foundation. Everyone here probably knows that Peter Drucker quote, right? Which this talk is based on, that culture eats strategy for breakfast. So why are we so focused on culture in our business and not doing anything about it at home other than kind of haphazard work?
Yeah, exactly.
And, we're really leaving it to chance, right?
Yes, absolutely. And so, how did we get to this place where culture is essential in business, but hasn't really entered family conversations? And so, students of history that we are, we got curious and we started researching. And what we learned is that parenting, at least the way we think about it today, is a relatively modern invention. If you think about it, for most of human history, families weren't managed. We really focused on shared community and shared purpose. But over time, our frame of reference has narrowed from that community to the nuclear family down to what you'll see in most parenting advice today is really about one parent to one child. And everyone from compassion expert Dr. Kristen Neff to Andrew Huberman will tell you that when you narrow your frame of reference, we get into this tight, more reactive state.
Yeah. And so the parenting market has exploded around this tight reactive stuff that triggers us. And it's how the Instagram influencers and the books are selling like crazy. But then even we couldn't have predicted that what COVID would do to the parenting market. And now it's just bananas.
And so we find ourselves in this space where parenting life is about performing scripts or optimizing schedules. instead of really focusing on family as a team and building together.
And nowhere is this more apparent than in the rise of the parenting gurus.
Greg loves that word. But really, the parenting gurus, they don't sell peace, they sell panic. And they're able to amplify moments like a tantrum and make them seem more frequent and more important than they really are. Have any of you ever used the term diaper drama? I didn't think so, because it's not that big of a deal. But the third time that you see that, you start to think about it more, right? So by amplifying the pain points, they are able to kind of take our psychological biases and then sell us the fix. These folks, Big Little Feelings, have 3.5 million followers, 400,000 users, and counting, because fear sells and scales faster than confidence.
That's right. And the biggest voices like Big Little Feelings and Dr. Becky have really taken this message and scaled it. It's brilliant marketing, but it doesn't make us feel all that good. And at the end of the day, it's made a whole generation of parents feel what Dr. Becky calls under-equipped.
Yeah, and so when we frame the problem as unfair and impossible, you're able to sell us the script. But we're not building from a place of strength here. We're coming from a place of deficit. And so, to be clear, we are not anti Dr. Becky, though maybe Greg is a little bit. But we are really anti deficit framing. In our world in venture capital, I would never sell this as a rallying cry to our portfolio managers or portfolio companies. So, why would I do that at home? And this idea that parenting is hard, it's become a way that we relate and a badge of authenticity. And to go against it is often even seen as like naive or braggy.
Yeah, it's virtue signaling, right? We've turned struggle into street cred. Not cool.
Yeah, but it's convenient, right? Because then you can sell a course or a membership for $279 a year and join a revolution. But what if we flip the script from deficit to strength?
Yeah, it's harder to sell, right? But it builds confidence. Strength is a vitamin, not a painkiller here. And that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about removing pain. We want to build connection and joy.
Yeah, so when we widen the frame from these one child isolated moments to focusing on the family unit, suddenly we become less reactive. That's certainly what we have found. And we can really focus more on peace and purpose.
Yep.
I will also say that we can now remember that we don't need to be fixed, that we can lean into what's already working and build from a place of strength.
Right. But so what's the difference then between parenting advice and family culture? So parenting is responsive, it's problems oriented, it's one adult, one child typically focused, and it really relies on these short-term tactics. It reminds us a lot of management, right?
But family culture building, that's leadership. This is an opportunity to be proactive and values oriented, to focus on our full family, and to really step in as leaders and set the vision.
Yep. And as we know, from sports to investing, when you set the vision, that allows you to focus on the process, which is one of the favorite terms in our household, right?
Yes.
We probably have all read or heard this stat about Roger Federer, that he won 80% of his matches by only winning 54% of his points. That's what happens.
Yeah, and it's true in finance too. Even the best portfolio managers are usually right around 54% of the time.
Yep. So focusing on culture allows us to focus on the process, no matter what, right? And know that as parents, we're going to screw up a lot too, and that's okay.
It is okay. We can still win. Because when we shift out of that minutia of parenting and start building family culture, then we can align with our partner, make our values explicit, and really bring back joy, connection, and belonging with our family. Sounds great, right?
Yeah.
So how do we do culture?
Well, first, you can buy our course.
He's joking. We have nothing to sell. But culture does come to life through rituals. These are the small, repeatable things that we do over and over that really tell every member of our family what matters here.
Yep. It's how values move from words to something more, right? It's what makes culture visible.
And we've really split them into two buckets in the way we think about them. The first is alignment rituals. Think about things like quarterly investment meetings with your partner or a problem-solving conversation with your whole family. These are the unsexy things that really build alignment and trust.
Yep. And then rituals of connection. Those are the fun things. That's what we look forward to in our household, all of us, right? So like Friday after school, we all have popsicles. And on the weekends, we have family bike rides. These are the things that just bring us connection and joy.
Yeah. And so we need both because rituals are the process. They're the things that we can do continuously and tweak, all in service of building family connection.
Yep. And one ritual that brings it all together, that blends both alignment and connection for everyone is the family meeting.
And so we know you've all probably heard of the family meeting. Some of you may even have intergenerational ones with motions and minutes and a long oak conference table. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is something lighter and way more fun.
Yeah, definitely. This is not the time where we pull out our calendars or behavior charts and we've heard it from some people in their own agendas that they brought to us. Start with, hey, so kids, how can mommy and daddy be doing better?
Yeah, please don't do that.
That is not the thing to do. Yeah, it's about checking in. It's about learning a little, and having fun.
Yeah. And so our three biggest tips are keep it short, do it consistently, and have fun together.
Yep. And if it doesn't work right away, that's okay. You got to just tweak some things probably. Change it up, change the time, change the agenda, just keep going though. The magic is in the repetition.
Absolutely. And so this is our actual family meeting agenda right now. And so we start with a call to order, something usually just like pounding on the table to get everybody around the table. And then we do a mindful minute for grounding. My favorite part of the meeting has been the compliments and appreciation, where we just compliment one person for something that they did throughout the week. But it plants that seed of gratitude before kind of what I'll call the meat of the agenda, which tends to be the family learning and the family problem solve. And then we finish with the kids' favorite part, a snack and a game.
Yep. And the family learning and problem solve, they don't take over the meeting. These sometimes can be serious, sometimes can be fun. But what we do is we vote on them in like a quick 5-minute pre-meeting the day before. And then we know what to expect and can come to the table prepared. So for example, last weekend, what we did K-pop Demon Hunters and the song Golden, how it was written and produced. And that was our family learning. Pretty cool. And then for the problem solved, hey kids, so we're going to Columbia, Missouri. This is where that is. How are you going to show up for your nanny while we're gone?
Yeah. And I think this is really where the magic happens because where previously I would be focused on trying to figure out how on a Thursday morning at 7:30 and my kid's having a tantrum, 9 times out of 10, I don't have the capacity to show up in that moment in the way that I want to. But I do know that no matter what happens during the week, we can spend time together connecting as a family and hashing out a small problem with intentionality as a team during the family meeting.
Yep. This is our number one ritual as a family to build culture together.
So the thing about the family meeting and really all of this intentional work is that it allows us to be present as a family.
Yeah. Presence is the reward here. This is the real deal.
So we love this quote that life is essentially a series of happy days strung together because that's really what we found.
Yeah. When we started exploring this, especially me, I was thinking about some future state. I'm like, oh, we're setting up these kids for success. But no, maybe that's the case. Maybe it's not, but that's not what this is about at all. This is about enjoying our family and back to that connection and joy. Like these are the times, right? This is our moment.
And so the more that we can shift out of survival mode and into being present with the people we love most, the better.
Yep.
So if there's one thing that we hope that you will take with you today, it's that family culture is worth building. That as we have made this shift out of the one parent to one child moments of parenting into building our family culture with intention, it's changed everything. It's really brought us a sense of peace and purpose and made our whole family feel much more connected.
It has. And we're along this journey together. We are not up here professing to be experts, but we've created a podcast to build in public. And so every Monday, you'll see on the back of your sheets, and we'll give you guys those at the end if you just came in, all the episodes that we've done in the last 6 months. And it's about 35 so far. And these topics, as we keep digging in, there's so much more to uncover. We keep peeling back the onion. And so we're here for you, and we're here to build culture in public and hope that you'll join us on this journey.
Yeah, because this work belongs to us all. So we would love to hear what you're already doing, what you want to lean into after this conversation. But I think we'd love to leave you with the thought that family is the most important thing. So we're excited to hear from you as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great. So we thought we would open up
Yeah.
to Q&A.
Q&A.
Yeah,
Cool.
I like the framing of sort of family as startup. I've spent a ton of time in my thinking about career, thinking about core values, thinking about mission, vision, et cetera, and have not done that at the family level, but see how that would be really. So I'd love to hear if you guys, like, what are some other parallels? What are some things that we may all be familiar with at work? I think about, I've talked to other families who've done vision, core values as a family. I'm curious if you guys have done that or if you've seen people, what kind of some more tactical things to set the culture of family.
Absolutely. You want to do it?
No, go for it.
Okay. Yeah, I would say see episodes 1 through 8 of our podcast, because that is exactly what I was thinking too when we started this. Is like all about the tactical stuff. And I still think that they have laid the foundation for us. We first did vision, mission, values when our first daughter was about 1. And we set up like 12 values, and we still look at them, right? I think that we were doing like 1 value a month and talking about it, just the 2 of us. But as the kids have gotten older, we really want to have this family as a team vibe and shift from that power over to more of the democracy, right? And so what we've done more recently actually is we have a family cheer that is an acronym for our last name, which is Neufeld. Shall we do it?
Sure.
Okay. The kids love it.
They love it.
So we say, who are we? Hunter, Jade, Maverick, Danielle, Greg, Winston. We say that. And what does that mean? We are noble, explorers, unbothered, fun-loving, empathetic, luminous, and determined. And we will do that as soon as we get in the car on the weekends, like for long car rides, or we live really close to the beach. So it's like a mindset trigger, I would say. Every time we get to the top of the beach trail, one of the kids says, who are we? And that has been like a really fun and lighthearted way to start talking about us. And so actually during our family meetings, we have had some conversations about what it means to be a noble Neufeld, which quite honestly is the one that comes up most often. Because, I love that Ben Horowitz quote of like, we as culture setters, it's about the team, what they are doing when we are not around, right? And so now we're starting to hear, I heard our middle daughter tell our oldest daughter, Hunter, remember to be a noble Neufeld on your field trip today, that kind of thing. So, ours are still little, but I think that they're starting to get it too.
Yeah.
They're still a little too much. My oldest is 6 and then 4 and 2.
Yeah, we're right there with you.
I'm like I think we've been in survival mode.
Yes.
Starting to get to the point where they can start to understand some of these things. So that's why
Yeah, and that's really been our hypothesis, is that we have the time right now when everybody's sleeping, most are out of diapers, before they're in adolescence, right? Really, which I think starts around 9 or 10 even, that we have this opportunity where they care what we think and they want to spend time with us. We're still their best friends.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
First,
Congratulations.
congrats. So I'm wondering about like, what do you have advice on sort of, and in those early
Absolutely. Do you want to talk about our shared systems?
Yeah. So I would say 2 things. One is the reparenting process is going to be ever more, right? Every time we think about something that is showing up in our children, whether it's as infants or all the way to where we are today, it's been, what do we see in that we either like or don't like about ourselves? And we've done some work around the shadow self recently, which brings things like anger to the surface, or things like how you can encourage shrewdness as a family by examining other people's envy. And this is the work to do on the long journey, right? This is not work that you need to do with your children necessarily. This is just work that is going to show up. And so be prepared for that. So that's kind of like I would say the more inward looking. And then when it comes to the relationship and the partnership, we think that one of the most important things to set are these rituals, as we talked about earlier, but the rituals that we think can set the foundation are things like quarterly investment meetings as a family, weekly 15, 20-minute stand-ups to
He means
manage the
between the two of
logistics
us,
between the two of us,
not
right?
your unborn
Not,
baby.
yeah, no, of course. But then just getting on the same page, moving from, I'm sure you have a system, your partner has a system, but moving to one system, even if it combines the, the Scotch tape and rubber bands to start, like that has been so helpful for us. And we learned this the hard way. So we learned it after our second was born and everything broke. So I would encourage, as soon as you can put those systems in action, like you'll be better for it.
Yeah, and I would add to that I think that we broke after our second was born because we hadn't created enough flexibility in the system, if you will. And so recognizing that a lot of things are going to change and that adaptability is probably the best that you can hope for. But I would also say like any type of way for you and your partner to get back into the present moment, because there is going to be so much hitting you. I'm sure there already is through baby lists and mail and things like apps that you can take, like apps that you can log on to. And so you're really like, you are in the vortex of a lot of these messages that we're talking about, right? And so you can choose for yourself what you want to do. But I think creating these moments of intentionality where the two of you can align and say, wait, do we really need that baby Einstein? Like, is that what we want to do? And maybe it is, right? But having those moments where you just take back control, I think can be really impactful.
Yeah. Just breathe. That's a very good question. I think that believability is something that we think about a lot. So not just between us, but where did we get this data from, right? And going a little bit deeper back to this reparenting, if something is triggering for one of us positively or negatively and puts us in a state of growth or a state of, fixed mindset, why did that happen? And so I think that it's a very kind of meta answer, which is not like, oh, we have we play rock, paper, scissors or something. But I think that's really kind of what it's come down to. And back to I think this ties into that question. So when something shows up as a dad in our family, my go-to is always fixing mode, right? And the question that I've learned that I've shared with new parents and just dads all over alike is to ask your partner and to have your partner say out loud what they need. Do they need a solution or do they just need empathy? And a lot of times, like, it could even be me. I could need empathy in a situation where something is showing up in my family of origin, where I just need to say, like, I really wish that you hadn't bought that because I had one of those growing up and it triggered me this way, And it's like, well, we're keeping it, but I hear you. So I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, the empathy versus solution has definitely been a great heuristic for us. I think that Greg has also taught me the beauty of reminding me that we are on the same team and that like shifting that energy from facing each other to being on the same side of the table and aligning immediately and like we will figure this out together has been very, very important.
Yeah. The systems, the rituals of alignment also, like just knowing that we have these containers for discussion is extremely helpful, right? So we're not like, it's not 9 o'clock and one of us is like bringing up something that's going to be extremely anxiety producing before bed. We've got places for those meetings and those conversations.
That's true. We avoid all like any sticky conversations when the sun is not up. And we learned, like, that's another one that we learned the hard way, particularly during COVID. There was a time where we would take
these walks and I would be, she's like, let's go on a walk. I'm like,
well, when you work together and you raise children together and you quarantine together,
it really,
yeah. So that's been another rule that has been really helpful for us is like, is the sun out? Like,
yeah.
Have you had the right amount of caffeine? Not too much, not too little to have these kind of conversations just for purpose of like we would in business, right? We would never sit down to a conversation not prepared in our work life. So giving each other that same respect and our kids the same respect at family life has been really helpful.
Did it start at one? I can that is your children are not your equal. Like, how do you all manage discipline and the ultimate accountability while still wanting to include them and still having those?
Hmm. Where do we start?
I mean, I think the answer I want to say is just do it. Like, I think that
Yeah.
we have been able to be more firm with boundaries because we do give them decision-making power when they are low stakes, right? So for us, like, one thing that has been kind of rogue, I guess, and maybe atypical is that, like, we've never had a child in our bed. And that has been something that I am very much on board with, but Greg has led the charge on because we really value our sleep. And so I think, but one thing we do is go in their beds. And so that's the boundary. It's like they know that they are not to come into our room, but if they are needing help during the night or sick or anything, that we are happy to be nurturing in the way that feels right to us. So that's just a salient example I can give you.
Yeah. What shows up for me there is that everyone has their own department of believability and circle and sphere of competence, right? And we let our kids grow into areas of development like that they show us they're ready for. But I wouldn't say that it's family as a democracy. It's family as a team. And so, we had Tim Tebow here. I'm sure he would talk about how it's important to have a captain and how it's important to listen to your captain. And if you're not listening to your captain, then that means that person shouldn't be your captain, right? You have to have that kind of trust in those systems and those containers in place. So we definitely are a team, but we have a 4-year-old boy. He should not be making any decisions.
Very few.
Yeah.
Thing that's booked for us at work early in this, but like we discipline at work based on adherence to the core values. So like if somebody's
For sure.
For sure.
you are not adhering to our core value of be proactive or you give a shit or whatever, you work people for that. So I think you do that at home too, and that's not just because it's like you are not living up to the core value. Like this is why we're having this, and they don't get to set the values. So you can maybe lean on those to not just.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we name the values. We name the values quite often when we see those show up or the anti-value, right? So that's definitely true. Thanks for pointing that out.
A modern invention. Oh boy. So many things.
Circadian rhythm bedtimes.
Yeah, super lo-fi everything. Very few screens, no sugar. It's a little like parenting world stuff, but yeah, definitely I think that we've taken more of like a first principles approach to parenting and really trying to, like, our kids go to nature schools, for example, which, by the way, I think the important point on that is that Greg's parents are unfortunately deceased, but mine have really been surprised with a lot of the choices that we have made parenting, which for us feel so safe and comforting and back to the way that it could be and should be for us, but have really gone against the grain of the way that we were raised. And so, and a lot of what is out there today, because I do think that there's a real opportunity to go the opposite way of what we have done. Like more academics, more achievement, tons of extracurriculars, the child as like the sole focus of life. So yeah, but we have definitely tried to not take anything that's in the zeitgeist for granted and really tried to think about, like, for us, for me and for Greg, peace is really an ultimate goal. Like, we just want to have fun together. And we found that if the kids are honestly, watching movies or eating junk food or staying up late, it's really hard to have peace.
Yeah, for sure. So
Does that answer your question a little bit? Cool. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
She gets a lot more like she
Yeah.
growing up.
Right. Where do you live?
We live in West Palm Beach, Florida.
We live in Delray Beach, Florida.
Yeah, you should come to Cocoa Plum Nature School. We're off Nashville this way. Truly, it's in
Yeah.
Delray Beach, just
Well,
down the street.
we'll talk after
Because
this
that's,
for sure.
obviously finding community is really important in that respect too. Yeah, but we are those people with our free range children. What do you guys think? So this is the first time we've given this talk, and just with like, even if it's not a question, just like show of hands or like vibe. Like, are you
Yeah.
guys like into what this what we're saying here? Did we make the point salient enough that we think that these focusing on these micro moments of tantrums or bedtime battles is really missing the mark, and that we can bring more peace if we focus more on the process? Does that resonate? Anybody got a counterpoint to it? Yeah, I love that. I think that we always say that, like, if a couple of years ago, early millennials have Dr. Becky and Big Little Feelings, we hope that later millennials and the next generation have us. And it's just like a vitamin, not a painkiller, because we get to do this. Like, we are so blessed to be able to have the space, have the capacity to focus on family as a team.
For sure. In this Capital Camp crowd, I couldn't agree more. It's like, it's a breath of fresh air on so many levels, but the balance in a healthy way of parenting and climbing your own mountains
Yeah.
is really what we're talking about here. The reason why we love this concept is because we're not here to just raise our kids, and we're not here just to build our businesses, but we want to climb our own mountains and find together that family is a base camp to support one another as we climb those mountains, as opposed to I'm all for my kids and I'm doing everything for them and I'm dropping everything and I'm resentful towards my kids and my partner,
Or they are my sole purpose.
or they are my sole
And
purpose.
then when they start to have their own purpose,
They
we
lose.
no longer have one.
Someone brought up that they're just anecdotally have seen so many divorces after kids go to college. I think that there's real resentment that needs to be named, and if it's not, it will show up and manifest in a way that divides the team that once was.
Being in balance, and this is something that my wife and I have worked through. I was growing up, my dad was an orthopedic surgeon. He worked really hard. Like, he was not home all the time, but he was always there when it mattered. And I always had a great relationship with him, but we're present parent. It feels like all of the parenting advice these days is like, you cannot be present enough. Like, you need to be around all the time. Like, the best dads are there all the time for their, like, there's so much of that kind of guilt and duty. You need to always be there. And when I was an early parent, I was putting a lot of guilt on myself about it. And I talked to my dad, lovingly. He said, maybe you are unbalanced here the wrong way. You need to focus a little bit more on you and, your lean on your spouse a little bit and like team effort. And maybe you don't need to be as present as you think. Something that I had it right. Sometimes when I'm not present, sometimes when I am present, I feel like I'm shortchanging the
Mm.
to my, my hobbies, etc. So I'm really struggling with that. I just want to have that.
So I think it goes back to this future state versus right now and this moment. And what I found is even if it's 5 minutes a day, if I can be present for my kids and my family during those 5 minutes, it allows me to be really present in my work, and it makes me better at doing everything for this team while climbing my own mountain. And I think that imagery of no one else climbing it but me, and everyone being there to support me, and me there to support them, and us as a team helps ground me in this idea of presence. And that if I can show up for everybody, if I can actually see them and what they need, and if they need more of me, then I will see that. And if they don't, then I will see that too. Being able to see that allows me to understand where I'm needed and where I can add value, and not just be a contributor. Like that is where Danielle's like, hey, you need to spend more time with the kids. Like if I'm hearing that, we're off the mark. We're missing the mark, right? Because we should be in dialogue about what everybody needs and how we can climb our own mountains while making sure that the team feels really supported. So like I would say, don't beat yourself up, because you'll know if you can truly see your kids and your spouse like and what they need, you will be present with them for that, and then you will be present with yourself when you do the things that you need to do to, go get them.
I would just add to that, that I think there are different seasons in life and in parenting. And there was a while, I think when the kids were really young, where I was doing most of the day-to-day in and out, right? And it's been we've I think the most important thing is to name it explicitly, like what's going on, because it's definitely been a shift that the kids have noticed. Like Greg said, he pulled me out of retirement. Like I'm back at work at our venture fund. I run partnerships. We do this. And so I'm happier than ever, honestly. But it has been, especially with my elder two that are about to be 8 and 6, like a series of conversations around, no, mommy is out there doing things that really feed my soul and making me feel confident and competent. And that sometimes means like, we're gone for 4 days this week. So they're not thrilled about it, but that's okay, because I know we are going to do everything in our capacity tomorrow on our way home to make sure that when we are there, we are able to be present and have open arms. And I truly believe that I'm going to be a better mom this weekend because I came here.
Yes.
There's a question.
One last thing on that is I was going to put it in the slides here, but I felt like there was a non sequitur. And it's a piece of advice that I heard on a podcast years ago, which is either to mentally perform this exercise or do it explicitly with your partner. And as a father, score yourself, or as a husband, really just as you score yourself on this, and then ask your partner if they agree, which is husband, father, provider, lover. And there's seasons for these things. You don't need to score perfectly on all those categories. In fact, if you are, like, you probably can take more risk, right? So that's the way to think about it. And like every quarter, you set quarterly goals, you talk about this, you talk about your finances, you talk about how you're doing, get a little 360 feedback from the family. And if you're really, a deficit in multiple quarters in one area, like, is that okay or not?
Yeah. And it's been helpful when you bring me into that process. I would say like how like, where do we want to weight these over the next 6 months? Like, right, when we're fundraising, it's a lot about provider, right? So they're just different times.
Yep. It's a good question. So what does presence look like? Presence looks like, it's not about me not wanting to check my phone or not thinking about other things. It's actually about being there for whether it's little rituals or little moments or checking in with each child or being there as just like not as somebody that wants to get it over with, right? If I need to take a break from a family activity, bike ride or whatever, to look at, I don't know what, like I can do that, right? And then I just kind of say, okay, I needed this moment, give me a moment and come back to it. It's not about like presence as a punishment. And I think that that's a lot of the, like what we as dads get pushed is like, you're not present with your kid. Like you need to shut off your phone, like Josh Kushner does on Fridays for the whole weekend or whatever. Like we're all built differently and we can all manage in different ways. Just, you'll know it. It's, you'll know it when you feel it, and you'll know it when you're not. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I think about though is that I don't know about you, but my children will turn anything into a ritual. So like if we go bike riding once on a Saturday, then it's like, can we do it tomorrow? Can we do it tomorrow? Can we do it tomorrow? And I have to really stand in my truth and like talk about boundaries, really try to say like, okay, I can allocate an hour for a bike ride once a week. Like that's what I can do. And I can be fully present with you, but I'm going to have to say no the other times. And so getting comfortable with that, because I'm such a routine person too. And I would love to go on a bike ride for, now that our kids are riding pedals, we go for so long, right? And it's wonderful when we do it, but I can't commit to that all the time. And that has to be okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any like things that are really working right now in the spirit of leaning into what's already working that you would be willing to share? Rituals or traditions, routines, anything? Yeah.
There is more
Uh-huh.
have value. Thank you for helping into describing like like
Mm-hmm.
oh oh, and we always
Yeah.
I love that. Newfelds don't eat cake. That's ours.
Yeah, that's ours.
Newfelds don't eat cake. When we go to birthday parties, we have these little cookies that we bring because Newfelds don't eat cake. Because when we eat cake, it's a disaster. So it doesn't happen anymore. I love that.
It's so good.
Yeah, I love this idea of belonging, really. And I think it's so core to like it's such an innate human need. And that when you use terminology like Galloways are helpers or Galloways wear their seatbelts, it helps them feel like something bigger than a part of themselves. And you know, I don't this is now we're moving to the realm of data to my personal opinion, but I just feel as though a lot of today's adolescent challenges come from a real focus internally and like on the individual and what they need to achieve. And so it is my hope that by giving our children more of a more diversified sense of self like in the family, and it will give them more grounding and just more confidence going into those more challenging periods. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For themselves, honest. You, like they get the opportunity to score themselves, and then we get the opportunity.
What?
Wow. It seems one allow them tomorrow to we don't do it all the time, but if one.
That's awesome. I think about how accountability is love, right? And I think, at least for us, like a lot of times in our community, so if the gold standard of parenting, as I know it really, and of family life, is around high standards and high support, I do see a lot of high support these days. I don't see that many high standards in our communities. And so for us, accountability has been huge. And I try to think about it as a blessing to our children, like as something that is really showing them that, like, we have high standards here and you belong here. And I believe that you can do this, and so I am going to support the heck out of you in getting there. And if you get a 4, that's fine. Thank you for your honesty. But holding that standard, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
I will say, for us, what we've been doing more recently when we see the kids struggling with something, like in the past month, our eldest and our youngest have both had explosive anger. And it's been a really hard thing to deal with in the moment because, if one's on one side of the table and someone's over here, it's hard to like capture them as they smack each other or something like that. And so at our family meeting, we talked about anger, and we did like a family learning on how anger is an indicator emotion. And we printed out this little wheel, and their kids are so into it now. And it's like this little wheel in the kitchen that says, if you're angry, are you really feeling helpless, isolated, embarrassed, whatever it is? And now I see them working with each other, sometimes joking, sometimes seriously, like what's really underneath that anger. And that conversation, talking about anger when no one was angry, has been way more effective for us than any parenting tactic that I could have done.
Yeah. It's worth pointing out too, this concept of family as a team extends to bad behavior in one is bad behavior in all. Like the Bill Belichick, like, if one of you messes up, you all run laps. And we're trying to institute some of that, especially if they can't solve their own problems. So if they're fighting, they all go into separate corners until they can come together and make up. And we've seen them repair so much better without us involved, by us just saying like, you need to sort this out. Otherwise, all of you are, even if it was only 2 of them fighting, all 3 of you, go and you have to sit, in different corners for 10 minutes.
Or do jumping jacks, yeah.
Or do jumping jacks, or, run laps, or depending on where we are. And that's family as a team too, right? They can all be against us in the moment, but they're going to be together knowing that they have to sort this out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Other people's energy, you mean?
Hmm.
We ask our kids to brush off other people's energy all the time.
People want you around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing, isn't it? I have a friend who's in Asheville right now with like 3 other families, and it's crazy, right? Even though they thought they were all aligned. It's a hard thing.
We you have true. Word.
Yeah. I would say that when the trust is there, absolutely, I'm with you on all kids are my kids, and if especially the adults know that we're coming from a place of love, I often check in, like, I will absolutely go there and set the standard. Like, I volunteer to do math games every other week at the kids' school, and so a lot of times even there, I'm setting a standard that maybe is not, expected even among the teachers or in the families, and so I check in. Like, as long as I feel like as long as I am asking the parent, like, "Are you okay with that?" Like, that's what I really felt in the moment, and giving them the opportunity and the space to say no. I've never had someone say no, honestly. A lot of times, actually, I can think of a couple of friends who've said, "Thank you, like, I'm gonna use that," kinda thing.
Yeah. I think the hard part, though, is how it shows up at home when you're not there because other people's energy, kids and, their parents, that is, our kids are awash in it no matter what. And this is where it goes back to building culture. And Ben Horowitz's book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things, talks about having crazy rules that define the team. And if you don't have crazy rules or crazy values, like ours is Neufeld's don't eat cake, as we said, then things collapse into other people's energy. So we talk about the values that we have when our kids come home with other people's energy and how they need to brush that off because that is not what we do here, right? And so it's like there were a bunch of birthday parties at school with like sugary popsicle things. And our middle daughter, she was like having a meltdown and she was like, I just don't want the sugar anymore.
Yeah.
And, and that was her awareness that sugar was making her feel crazy. And so we didn't have to like take anything away from her. She was able to do it herself.
Cool.
So,
All right, we're
yeah.
getting the time's up sign. But thank you, everybody,
Thank you,
so
guys.
much for joining us. So we do have a podcast. It's called The Most Important Thing. We have new episodes every Monday. We have done about 35 so far. And some of them are just Greg and I on the mic talking like tactically about family meetings, family stories, family values, and things like compassion, joy. But we've also started interviewing others. Like we have a recent conversation with the CEO of Speechify, Cliff Weitzman. If you guys are familiar with that, it's the #1 text-to-speech app. And he's the eldest of a family of 5, 3 siblings who work together at Speechify. And so he has a lot of incredible stories on how his family operates as a team and growing up. So we're doing kind of real time, how our family is experimenting, and what we like to call like extraordinary families, folks that have really built strong family cultures and are doing multiple siblings are doing amazing things.
Yeah. And we're always up for side quests. So would love to explore whatever is showing up for you.
Yeah.
Thanks again.